Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Palmer, and today I'm going to be describing my crisis, which is a police department cyber attack. The crisis is a large-scale cyber attack upon a major city's police department, which causes citizens not be able to access public services. It hinders traffic systems, hospitals, utility services, things like that. Emergency response is greatly impacted by this, and this requires effective and immediate leadership to remedy the situation. With my crisis being not as much of a natural disaster, but being more of a technological attack, I chose my impact area to be the Emergency Operations Center and the Police Department Command Structure because these are the two entities that will be handling the brunt of the attack and they're held responsible with um, managing the attack and ultimately recovering the city to full operation. So with the cyber attack, it is estimated to impact between 1 to 3 million residents of the city. Between the police department and emergency systems, there will be 5,000 employees affected from the attack. Services including law enforcement communications, emergency response, utility services, traffic systems. Many of these services will be impacted. The initial attack will last around 24 to 36 hours, with a several-day disruption of emergency services. System restoration and investigations of the city will require about 4 to 12 weeks, and full economic recovery and ultimately infrastructure improvement and recovery for the city will take around 6 to 12 months. Our first time frame is 3 minutes after, so the major cyber attack has just occurred and the situation is rapidly unfolding. The first systems to fail are the police dispatch and communication systems. As we see, the computer-aided dispatch or the CAD systems goes down, which causes officers to lose critical databases. They are no longer able to do location tracking or see incident information. All while this is happening, emergency calls continue to stack as the public continues to call in during the cyber attack, but emergency services are not available to receive the calls. And ultimately, the staff and communication center is completely overwhelmed and is not operating with a full awareness of what is going on with the attack. Due to these disruptions, the police communications supervisor becomes the immediate frontline leader. This role is absolutely critical because they are responsible for maintaining the emergency communications amidst the disruption. For 3 minutes after, we see the first concept from Chapter 1 is leadership during crisis and uncertainty. Van Wert in the textbook shows how leaders must act when systems break down and information is incomplete. They must act to create order and eliminate chaos. In these environments, leaders cannot just rely on their procedures and must instead make rapid, informed, and logical decisions even while conditions are evolving and changing around them. The journal article supports this by saying that during crisis, public leaders must restore order and meaning in chaotic environments. It shows how their role isn't just operational, but it's also interpretive, that they must be able to help people understand and themselves understand what is going on in the situation and what actions should be taken. So for the supervisors, this means creating backup radio systems, implementing manual logging procedures, and prioritizing life-threatening emergencies. Ultimately, it means directing his or her staff to avoiding the systems that aren't working and to use procedures and systems that are still working. Ultimately, through the textbook and the article, we can see that it is vital that any leader, and especially the supervisor in this scenario, must create order throughout the initial chaos of 3 minutes after the cyber attack. The second concept we see is directive leadership from the textbook, and this goes along with creating order from chaos, because directive leadership involves providing clear, specific instructions and closely guiding task execution. It is very important that when followers do not have clarity, when systems are out of place, and decisions are uncertain, that leaders can show them the right path to go on, show them what systems to use, what decisions to make. And the journal article supports this. R.J. House supports this in his article by saying that directive leadership is most effective when tasks are stressful or ambiguous. It's because in these moments, employees require structure, direction, and clarity from leadership. And in this scenario, as we see, being able to transition to radio communication, being able to assign staff for manual tracking or logging when digital systems are down, and preventing staff from trying to troubleshoot systems and more just doing what they can to immediately solve the problem. So overall, we see in 3 minutes after from the textbook and these articles that the police communication supervisor must act immediately but also effectively by limiting the chaos of the situation and creating order through directive leadership. Now we are into our second time frame, which is 3 hours after. The cyber attack has now expanded beyond police systems and is now affecting hospitals, transportation systems, and utilities. Now multiple sectors are experiencing very growing failures, and they are requiring coordinated response from emergency services. So now the leader of the situation is the Emergency Operations Center Director, which is in charge of coordinating multiple agencies to mitigate the damage of the situation. So now we're 3 hours after, and we're with the Emergency Operations Center Director, and we see that both of these concepts from the textbook and the supporting articles show how important it is to include the employees and really motivate the employees to accomplish tasks. So transactional leadership from chapter 3 shows how structure, task assignment, and accountability are very important in leadership. That leaders must be able to define their roles clearly and monitor performance based on compliance with whatever they tasked their employees with doing. And we see this is supported by the article from Judge and Piccolo. Their analysis found that transactional leadership is highly effective in environments where clear goals, accountability, and coordination are necessary for performance outcomes. And this is a very obvious scenario where clear goals and coordination are necessary in terms of chaos and dealing with the aftermath of now 3 hours and more widespread problems within this cyber attack. It is very important that the EOC director is able to apply transactional leadership by encouraging his or her staff and getting the people that his or her staff and an organization to structure a response, to restore critical systems, to focus on the emergency response, to restore patient care systems within hospitals, and to prioritize essential infrastructure. Now moving to transformational leadership. This is the part of inspiring and motivating followers. So in a time of chaos, it's very easy for staff or emergency staff to get out of hand, or to, because they're unaware of the situation, they're worried about the situation, to stop focusing on the task. This is where a leader not only needs to set the structure, but also needs to inspire and motivate the workers to complete their task and not so much focus on the stress or the anxiety of the situation. And Bass, in his article, supports this by saying transformational leadership increases motivation, commitment, and performance by connecting individuals to a meaningful vision. So this is where the EOC director needs to show the vision of we're trying to fix this problem. We're trying to advance and gain back our dispatch emergency systems. We're trying to restore the infrastructure. We're trying to ultimately protect the community and restore patient care systems. This is where the director must be able to not only organize their people, but also inspire them to focus on the task at hand. So now we are into the third time frame, which is 3 days after. We now have the leader of the scenario as the city manager, with the attack being ultimately contained, and systems have been stabilized, but we're still seeing major disruptions within the city. And we're also seeing that public frustration is rising. Also, the economy is taking major major hits and there's major impact from the attack. Now, the city manager now is the most visible leader, and I think that's what's important about this time frame is who is being seen by the community and who's really taking charge in gaining public trust and encouraging the community to support each other and ultimately unite everyone in the goal of restoring the city to how it was. So for the 3 days after time frame, we see two very essential concepts from chapter 5 and chapter 6. We see distributing leadership and ethics in leadership. So distributed leadership refers to being able to share leadership across multiple individuals within organizations and systems rather than concentrating it in a single authority. This emphasizes collaboration and coordination across many different networks and organizations. This is very important for the city manager to be able to facilitate leadership rather than take main responsibility and take sole leadership. With police managing public safety, fire departments addressing hazards, hospitals restoring medical services, and utilities repairing infrastructure. There are many different organizations that the city manager has to work with in order to promote recovery and restoration for the city. Bolden agrees with this in his article, saying that it's especially effective for distributed leadership in complex environments where no single organization has the expertise or capacity. So definitely in this situation, we know that the city manager doesn't necessarily have the expertise in each situation, like public safety with addressing fire department hazards, with the medical services and restoring hospitals to full function, and utilities for infrastructure. We know that it's better off for the city manager to delegate or distribute this leadership so that these issues can be solved. And secondly, with ethics in leadership, it is very important that along with distributing this leadership, that the city manager focuses on fairness, transparency, and moral decision making. That him or her is ultimately allocating the right resources to each group, that each group is getting taken care of, and the ultimate goal, ethically and morally, is taking care of the public and making sure that the public is safe and that the city is being brought back to how it was before the attack. And Brown and Trevino's article agrees with this, saying that ethical leadership builds trust and legitimacy by ensuring fairness, accountability, and consistent moral standards. So ultimately, we can see that the city manager must take a very deliberate process in decision making, and the only way this happens is if leadership is distributed, and the ultimate goal by all these different organizations or entities that have this distributed leadership is if they are aimed at prioritizing the public and the safety and well-being of the city. So overall, it is about the city manager being able to distribute, but also ethically and morally lead well. Our last time frame is 3 months after, and the leader for this is the Chief Information Security Officer. So at this point, emergency operations have concluded. The majority of public services are back up and running. We still have investigations that are continuing to find what the culprit was, find out how this happened, find out how it can be prevented. This is also a time for the city to create prevention strategies against future attacks, and it's also a time to improve infrastructure. So the CISO is now the leader of rebuilding the city's infrastructure and fully recovering from the attack. The two concepts we see in the 3 months after time frame from chapter 7 chapter 8 are leadership as power and competent leadership. These two tie in very well because when you view leadership as a very powerful and influential factor in how employees operate, you see that it is very important to have competent leadership. And this involves having guided systems and being able to transform how employees view their work by establishing vision, by giving them support, and ultimately implementing structures that sustain long-term success. Cotter's article agrees with this, saying that successful change requires clear vision, strong communication, buy-in, and structured steps that build momentum for transformation. So for the CISO, it is very important that vision is established for what it really looks like for the city to be fully recovered, and that this recovery is communicated, and that these plans are implemented across many different agencies and organizations. And there needs to be new policies and protocols and new programs in place that give a vision and also establish the potential for long-term success. So it's not only recovering but also preventing future attacks. And secondly, competent leadership. This emphasizes effective leadership, and it shows how this leadership depends on a combination of knowledge, skills, and abilities. It's not just about the position or authority. So really, when you understand how important and influential leadership is, you really want someone in that role who has the right knowledge, skills, and abilities to complete the task of that leadership role. And Mumford, Campion, and Morgeson agree, saying that leadership effectiveness depends on a stratoplex of competencies, including cognitive and interpersonal and technical skills that must be developed and applied together. So someone in whoever this CISO is in this case must have the correct knowledge, skills, and abilities. They must have these cognitive and interpersonal skills to be able to draw up these plans and create this vision and truly inspire their people to go after this vision and recover the city. That's why these concepts tie together well, because you must have someone in the right role who understands how important their role is and who is actually able to accomplish creating the vision, empowering their employees to reach that, and ultimately have long-term success and recover the city and prevent future attacks upon the city. That is my presentation. Thank you for your time. And here is the citation for the textbook. All the journal articles are APA cited within their respective slides. Thank you.